Welcome back everyone. Today I'm going to be giving my first impressions using Capture One to edit my Fuji RAW files. I normally use Lightroom and have heard good things about Capture One for Fuji files, so let's get into it. Alright, so I've downloaded Capture One and I'm going to go ahead and open it up and see what it's like. Okay, step 1 of 6, here's your workspace. It's giving me a little guide around. Let's go next. We can personalize it. Cool. Okay, a little step-by-step guide. I'm gonna skip through these and I'll probably then be asking questions about how to do them. So we can see at the top, I am on a 30-day free trial, but let's go ahead and import some images. Import, choose. I'm going to import some images from a shoot I did at a castle nearby, and these images were shot with the GFX 100S. Okay, I'm used to the default select all. Let's just pick a few that I enjoyed editing. I could not tell that the check was under the image. I thought it was above, so small thing there. Okay, all right, I think that'll be fine. Import. Okay, so here's the first image. Let's see if I can go through my normal flow for editing photos. Okay, I'm just trying to find out how to increase the exposure. Oh wait, I'm assuming I'll need to go into develop mode first, or is it already in develop mode? Tether. Adjust. Okay, cool. Exposure up. Let's bring up the shadows. Adjust the temperature to be more cool. I think that's about right. Okay, I see this image has my water bottle in the back. I believe I edited that out in the other one, so I'll go ahead and do that here. What I'm looking for is the content aware remove. I'm not really sure right now how to just content aware fill without doing a little bit of Googling, so I'll ignore that for now. Let's go ahead and compare the details between the two images. I'll pull the same image up in Lightroom. So I do have Lightroom open here with this photo. It is 0830 RAF. And I've gone ahead and reset it to right out of camera, and you can see how the exposure is set. I was trying not to blow out these highlights in case there was any light or detail there, and I know that I can raise the shadows and exposure a lot without introducing too much noise. But I've also open the image in Capture One. Let's go ahead and reset the image here as well. I want to start with just increasing the exposure. Let's say a full stop here. And let's go ahead and go, let's go to around 1.75. Just let's get some more details. I know this is a crazy amount to be increasing exposure. I just want to be able to see the image. Increase the shadows, let's say about 45, and we'll do the same in Lightroom. And then let's cool it down. I would say I'm looking at the light, the color in the back here to kind of set my white balance. We can try to do a drop. I don't really like that tint. Let's set that back at, let's set that at 1 and see how that looks. I think I like that. I like a slight green tint. This is such a cool image because this house, you can even see the rainbows on the ceiling over here, and I'll zoom in on those later. But They're actual rainbows coming through naturally from the old windows in this house, which is pretty neat. So 41, 28, and 1. Whoa, okay. That's interesting. That is interesting. Okay, so those values definitely do not map. That's okay though. We'll get them looking semi-similar. I'm not really trusting the shadows. I feel like the exposure should map correctly, but I'm questioning whether the shadow, lifting the shadows is going to map and be 1-to-1. The cushions look pretty similar there. Okay, cool. For some reason, this looks very punchy in Capture One compared to here, and I'm not really sure why. Is it brighter? Just has a bit of a punch to it. I think it is brighter. I think more like 2 stops here. I wonder if I can set this back at 1.75 and then raise the shadows even more and get that. No. Yeah, you can see in Capture One, the blue is starting to come off the side there completely, and the green is already off. Over here, we're definitely not off with either. Let's go back to 4.5. 1.75. Even here, you can see the pillow has lost some of the highlights. I did not expect that, if I'm being completely honest. And while I'm here, okay, I do notice the more red tint here in the arm. Let's reset both photos. I want to see something. Okay, so we're on 830. And this photo here is 830, you can see. Let's only do exposure. We're going to do it by 2. Exposure by 2. Okay, those are looking pretty much exactly the same. Let's set the temp to, let's try, what was it before? I think I like that. It's super warm here, but as you can see in the back, it's actually just a very warm room. The paint they have, the floor, everything. Okay, so let's hop over here, do 4800. Look at this pillow. That, yeah, it's kind of blowing my mind. Let's drop the highlights. Of course, I can get that detail back in Lightroom if I just kill the highlights, but I would imagine I could get more detail back in Capture One because it's starting off. For some reason, the Lightroom highlight slider is doing more work, it looks like. It's lost a lot more highlights. And it does look like I'm getting a lot of the detail, so that may be overblown. I don't know in the armchair though. Looks like there's more detail there. That's pretty strange to me and just really did not expect that. Let's take a look at the carpet. It's still strange to me the difference between these two photos when they both have had their highlights killed and brightness and exposure brought up 2 stops, yet there's clearly a lot more, just whether it's brighter or more pop in the Capture One photo, this here compared to this here. Not the tint. And if highlights are all the way down, give it the whites, increase the whites. So it's almost like the whites are default kind of bumped up a little bit in Capture One. That looks much more similar, but if the defaults are bumped up more, it just makes me question how much, or whether they're bumped up more or Lightroom's are decreased by default. I mean, I really do prefer the default look, I believe, in Capture One, where they have that pop already added in, but I don't know if I'm not used to bumping up the whites in Lightroom, but if I stick with Lightroom, I may have to, because I feel like now I'm going to be hyper aware that each photo may be losing a little bit of something there. Okay, let's go to the next photo. See what else we see. All right, we're on the next photo, which is 1083. 1083. Okay, so since this is a Fuji file, I want to figure out where the camera profiles are. In Capture One, in Lightroom, you can see they're right here at the top. Velvia Vivid. Let's go ahead and see if we can find out where they are. Okay, took me a little longer than I thought it would, but they are located in Curve. So this is Velvia Vivid. It's kind of frustrating that it's not showing that by default, because that's what it was shot with, and the Lightroom editor does show that. Here it's just showing auto, so does that mean that you may not know what you shot it, what profile you shot it with? Maybe. You can just go through here and see which one doesn't change the image. Okay, cool. Well, we'll leave that there. Jump back to adjustments, and let's do a comparison. I do like this darker mode in Capture One. Seems very bright over here in Lightroom all of a sudden. I feel like it's a little bit easier to focus on the details with that dark mode background. Let's go ahead and make that match. Okay, they're looking very similar, but let's go in, and I specifically want to check out this light and the color that we're getting from it. Okay, again, I'm seeing highlights preserved. They're dropped down, whether it's the highlights or the whites here, are dropped down in Capture One. I'm also seeing different Kelvin values, 5258 versus 5700, which is interesting that those would be different. If I set them to be the same, okay, the tints are definitely not mapping. Let's drop that back. So let's just go with the defaults first. I see a lot of yellow here in the brightest part, whereas in Lightroom, I see a lot more white. There is a whole lot of yellow here. Let's compare the two real quick. Yeah, that is a stark difference. So if I drop the Kelvin, it's really not getting me what I want. That yellow is just sticking around, and by the time it's gone, I've desaturated or dropped the tint of the sides of the lamp more than I believe I would like to. So let's bring that back up. I'm going to go ahead and drop them all the way. Similar to the carpet, I can definitely tell, you can tell in the light below the lamp here, the whites. If I increase them, there's some pop that is just kind of lost in Lightroom when I preserve the highlights. Somehow this light here is not brought down as much as in Lightroom. And even here, if you look, you can really see it with the light reflecting off this. Look at the difference. It's just a lot brighter, the background. And so the question is, who has the lower highlights right now? I would wager that they are similar, yet somehow Capture One still has more pop. Yeah, it's strange. Right now they look the most similar, but you can see the highlights are still really bright in Lightroom. They are not bright here, but the bottom, the base here, looks about the same with 0 highlight adjustment in Lightroom. So if I want to kill the highlights up here, it darkens everything so much, including this here and that background. And I think I prefer the Capture One approach. However, they're doing that because in this case, I can't really decrease the highlights to get that detail back and then bump the whites here without blowing out the light here in the lamp. Sorry about that. Apparently I hit the max on the amount I can video and it cut off. So where I was is essentially talking about this lamp, and yeah, it definitely seems like with the lamp and Capture One, I can drop the highlights all the way and it's still fairly bright on the wall and around the middle of the lamp here, versus in Lightroom, dropping the highlights all the way definitely makes the wall look darker, yet the middle seems to still be, I would say, brighter. Definitely brighter than in Capture One. So it's not decreasing the highlights as much, yet somehow it's decreasing them more in certain areas. Maybe I could decrease the whites here to get a similar look, and increase the highlights a little bit more to get some of the pop back. But yeah, I think that's pretty interesting, is how the highlights and whites differ in Capture One and Lightroom. But I think I'm going to end the video here. I am going to finish off this free trial and hopefully get back to y'all in another video with a more robust comparison between the two. But those are my initial impressions. Capture One seems nice. I do really enjoy how I'm able to drop the highlights, and it seems to target different areas than Lightroom does. You can see as I'm just dragging these highlights up and down, the wall highlights are affected. To me, it seems much less than in Lightroom. You can see, look at that, the highlights on the wall all the way up and down, versus in Capture One. That is a drastic difference. And I'm not sure right now which I prefer, but something to note, the detail in the image seems pretty similar and the colors seem pretty similar outside of the default color temperature and tint. But I feel like that'd be simple to adjust. But yeah, again, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions for things that I did not cover in this video, feel free to drop them in a comment below. It would be great if you could like and subscribe if you'd like to see more content. Thanks for watching. Until next time.